Welcome back to the Lightspeed Social Agency YouTube channel. I am Cody Owen, as always, here to host for you. And I am sitting down today with Mike Andes from Augusta Lawn Care Services. I can read your vest there. So wanted to talk to Mike. We've known each other for a while. We had an interview scheduled a long time ago, and I flaked out on him. And now I'm doing a completely different YouTube channel, and wanted to get Mike on to talk about his journey as a business owner and as a lawn care YouTuber. So, Mike, thanks so much for being here.
Cool, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Cody.
Yeah, of course, man. So what I kind of wanted to do as our angle here is give like the background of growing Augusta from a marketing perspective. So maybe like the way that I did this when I talked to Naylor Tagliaferro from Lawn Care Rookie was I asked him like where those core, like your first 10 clients came from.
Yeah, so the first 10 was literally a flyer inside the newspaper. And so, traditionally people like myself poo-poo on print media and especially newspapers, like, back in the Stone Ages. But back when I first started, I could get for $800, I could get a 8.5 by 11 in every single newspaper as an insert inside of our local community's newspaper. And that went to about 8,000 homes. And so it's a really small localized market in terms of where that newspaper serves. And there's just a whole bunch of old people that read this newspaper. It's our target market. And so I got our first probably 15, 20 customers from that flyer. And it was $800 for the insert, and then probably pay another $200 or $300 for the printing. But for, $1,000 basically kicked things off. That definitely wasn't what stemmed the future growth. That was more longevity, but that 48 to 72 hours after that flyer is really what kind of kicked things off.
That's awesome. So then you've got kind of that like base of the business where I feel like that is the biggest hurdle for a lot of people is just like committing and actually doing something. So it's good to hear like, because sometimes you talk to guys and it's like the first 10 clients were like my friends. And so it's harder to replicate that. If you don't have 10 friends who own homes, it's good to hear like someone just say like, no, I invested in marketing right away. And that got us off the ground.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say too, like, it's not like I would do that today. Like today, I would not recommend that be your first $1,000 spent on marketing as a newspaper. Yeah. I really actually would completely say that's the wrong thing to do, but it's a matter of, where's the underpriced attention currently, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't care if that's online. I don't care if that's in person. I don't care if that is a door hanger. I don't care if it's a flyer. I don't care if it's Facebook. I've got to find underpriced attention. And at the time it was $800. Well, now that same exact placement is going to cost you $2,500, and it's just not worth it from a customer acquisition standpoint. So I'm constantly looking at what's the customer acquisition cost. It's the only thing that matters. And then what type of customers does that marketing method bring? Not all customers are created equal when it comes to their lifetime value. And so, started with newspapers, ended up moving towards more digital. And now it's very focused on localized marketing on digital. Yeah.
When you talk about not all customers are created equal, and that, as business owners, what we're looking at is what is the lifetime value of that client? What is, what defines those cohorts for you? Is it like geographic? What makes that work?
Yeah, like obviously the geographical is important. Like if they're close to my target market, where I want to be servicing, geography, how far away they are from me, but also their demographics. If I'm getting random, 30-year-old people asking for me to do their lawns in the kind of down B or C neighborhood, they don't own, they're renters. That's not going to be my ideal customer. Mm-hmm. And so then I have to ask myself, well, where are those customers? Where's their attention at? Are they going to be more likely to call me from Google, or are they going to go onto Angie's List or Home Advisor and go through that avenue? I would much rather spend $20, $30, $40 on a customer that comes from Google, that searches for me, finds me through my website, sees my website, and then contacts me, versus $10, $15, $20 on a Home Advisor lead, where they went to Home Advisor and filled out their information. And then Home Advisor, as the middleman, sent me their contact info. I would much rather have control over that lead, control over the customer relationship, and then also what kind of services are going to come from a type of customer who goes on to Angie's List, goes on to Home Advisor, or these other kind of lead providing services, versus someone who actually searches me out, searches on the website, and finds me and contacts me organically.
Yeah. One thing that I am hearing kind of as an undercurrent here is that you have a very well-defined ideal client. Do you want to walk us through who that person is?
Yeah, I feel for most landscaping and lawn care professionals, it's pretty similar. And that is like, we have two target markets, two target demographics. One is going to be your retired, affluent individual. This person's going to have plenty of money, lots of net worth. A lot of that net worth is going to be wrapped up in their real estate. Therefore, that's why they want to take care of it. It's not an optional thing. This is a matter of managing their portfolio, and that is taking care of their real estate. So it's not optional. And furthermore, it's not optional because they physically cannot do it, and they shouldn't be doing it. It's not healthy or safe for them to be out on a ladder or operating power equipment or installing a wall. So it's not like they have an option of doing it themselves. The second person that we were really target is working professionals, people that, especially when COVID hit in 2020, everyone moved out of these cities into the suburbs. And for a lot of these tech workers that were making 200 grand a year coding, all of a sudden they had their first lawn, they had their first, property. And this is an ideal customer. They don't want to do it. They make more money not doing it. And so saving them that hour is going to return them $200 at their current job instead of the $40, $50 you charge for mowing, or whatever you charge for, installing hardscaping. And so the bottom line is those are really our two core competencies in terms of who we're targeting. And then realizing that baby boomer generation, that older generation, the retirees, they were forced online when 2020 came around. And so now they are on Facebook. They are used to giving their credit card over the phone. They're used to doing estimates over the phone. And so being cognizant of that is important to know where's the attention of the target customer, and then adapting my marketing strategy to where that attention is.
Yeah. So like you and I are obviously pretty far from, retired baby boomers. How do you find yourself trying to dial into the places that they are? Like, if it's not, we grew up with Facebook. So like, obviously we've watched Facebook have a clientele that gets older and older, but like, where's the place that the baby boomers are hiding?
Yeah, I think honestly right now, they really enjoy localized news. Right. And so this is why Nextdoor, in my mind, is a very good opportunity. It's very localized, and it's people getting on there, traditionally older in their retired years, that are very, very locked in with their local community. And this was enforced and reinforced by COVID, when everyone's like, we're all together, and all local communities came together. Places like Nextdoor, HOAs, all of these places where very localized groups of people get together for the residential market is a huge opportunity. And so, in the past, when I said print was dead, or door hangers or door knocking, all of a sudden now that very close connection starts to work really well. And places where you can scale that, like Nextdoor, is very, very powerful.
Yeah. And I think people are feeling the sort of the alienation of every transaction being through the internet during 2 years of what's been going on, that having someone come to your door and be there to talk to you about your home and your lawn might be a little more welcome now than it was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. And on the flip side, there's other people that really love the fact that now they don't have to talk to people, right? And so it's like, how do we create a business model that kind of accommodates both, right? Like, they don't want to ever see you. They just want to put a card on file and never talk to you. And so how do we make sure that when they call, they submit a request form online, that we get a quote to them within a couple minutes, or we do it over the phone, we get them set up, we get a card on file, and they never talk to us. But on the flip side, be able to accommodate that retiree that also wants to walk around their property for 30 minutes and, talk about each plant and what they named it last year. Like, that's going to happen too, right? Yeah. So how do we accommodate both, or do we not? Do we focus on one up or the other? Because if you're wanting to go after a retired affluent customer only, you might really focus on full service. I'm going to pull your weeds, trim your bushes, install mulch, and I'm going to be on a 12-month contract, and that's all we do. But you're probably going to lose out on some of those working professionals that are like, hey, I just want you to mow the lawn and bill me at the end of the month and never talk to me. Right. So sometimes you might have to choose one or the other, but you can also try to balance your business model to accommodate both of those different markets.
Yeah, and it might also just depend on what the market will bear in your area. If you have,
Exactly.
I'm here in Plano. We've got like Toyota, State Farm, all of these companies with like a lot of tech workers now here. Our retirees sometimes hit the road and go on down to Florida. And, if you're in Cape Coral, Florida, like Scooter's Lawn Care, then, you might be working with a lot more retirees than tech workers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What if someone were to ask you, like, I guess I'll ask it, what is the biggest hurdle that you feel like you had to overcome in marketing? Like maybe a big mindset shift you had to make, something like that.
Honestly, it's pretty basic, but it is commitment to your customer acquisition.
Mhm.
And that is once you know your customer acquisition cost and you know the lifetime value of your customer, as a small business owner, you got to stay committed to that. Because if I know, let's just say, for example, I'm going to spend $100 to get a customer, right? Well,
Mhm.
but my customer acquisition cost is $100. If I can do that, and over the course of the next several years, I can get $5,000 of revenue, right? Whether it be a
Mhm.
project, whether that be some mowing, but I'm gonna get $5,000 over the next 5 years, and that's the lifetime value of my customer, $5,000. Well, if I earn a 20% profit margin business, that means I'm gonna have $1,000 in profit, which means I took $100 for marketing and I turned it into $1,000. That's a
Yeah.
10x return. So why would I not keep pumping money into my business and investing back into my company as long as those numbers are constant and I'm confident in them? The
Mhm.
reason most people don't do that is because they lose confidence or they don't track or they have no idea what's going on in their marketing. And
Yep.
therefore, like, well, I don't know what a good customer, I don't know what my customer acquisition cost is. I don't know if that was a good advertising campaign. And they don't keep track of like how much I spent on marketing, how many leads came in. Oh, that's my cost per lead. How many of those leads became customers? Oh, that's my closing ratio. That's how I get my customer acquisition cost. Knowing that is
Yep.
what usually will get someone to commit to marketing, is the fact that I know my numbers. Therefore, I'm going to keep pumping money in this because it's the best ROI you're going to get out of any asset class compared to stocks or real estate or whatever. Is a small business that has a solid and predictable customer acquisition cost. That's the best marketing or the best return you're ever going to get.
At what point in your business did you start tracking that information? Just so that people, what I'm imagining is the guy who's sitting in the truck listening to this right now, who is feeling a little defeated because he's been in business for a couple of years. He doesn't track any of that. He doesn't have that like bed of data to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
When did that light bulb come on for you?
Well, I'll give you the easy steps. So the guy sitting in the truck doesn't like computers and analytics and codes and SEO and all the garbage, right? Can't use Excel for anything. This is literally what you're going to do. You're going to be, okay, how much did I spend on this
Mike was
marketing
ready.
campaign?
We did not script this. He's just
Well,
got
I
a
have a
notepad
desk here.
ready.
I got a paper over here, man. I
I
always
love
have
it.
something close. Usually it's a whiteboard, but that's the other set over there. All right, so $1,000. That's going to be our budget for this ad spend. We're gonna do, let's just say, every door direct mail, right? $1,000. Well, yes, there's a possibility that someone could call you and not have seen this ad, but if you're really small, there's a really good chance that every single lead that you're going to get once those are delivered for the next 24 to 72 hours are going to come from that advertising. So let's say, for example, okay, well, I got 50 calls or leads from that $1,000. Okay, well, $1,000 divided by 50, there's your $40 of cost per lead. All right, CPL. $40 cost per lead. All you really need to know is how many people did I get leads? How many estimates did I send out in that given period of time? All right. And then it's a matter of how many of those did you close? Well, I closed half of them. 50% of them I got accepted. 50% of them I didn't. Well, there's your customer acquisition cost, $80 customer acquisition cost. So the math on that is really simple. And I think people overcomplicate it at the first, but especially when you're small and you can very easily know, okay, if I'm doing every door direct mail today, next few days, that's everything that comes from that I'm going to consider as the leads from that marketing campaign, and just run the simple math. I need my cost per lead, my close ratio, and my customer acquisition cost.
Yeah.
And if you know those things, you'll have a lot more confidence.
Yeah. And that is what gives you the permission, and you were saying the confidence to scale. If you know I can get a customer for X amount of dollars for $80 from this marketing medium, then if I want to put $2,000 or $3,000 into it on the next round, I have an idea of how it's going to perform. So yeah, absolutely. It's a confidence builder.
And to realize in this industry, it's very important to realize that this $80 customer acquisition cost might go down to 30 or 40 if you deliver this piece of mail or an ad or whatever it is at a different time of the year. Literally the week before, if it's sunny and everyone's grass started growing the week before, you might have got a way better customer acquisition cost. If you do the same exact ad, but it's placed in the middle of summer when no one's thinking about a specific service that you're trying to pitch, that might go up to 250. So timing in this industry is extremely important when it comes to not just the creative, not just the ad, not just the budget. None of that matters as much as the timing. And the same exact ad could have a 5x return difference based upon just when it's delivered to the customer.
Yeah. And I think that gets to part of the value in like where you were talking about like undervalued attention right now. Like I know that everyone knows to advertise on Facebook, but it's just still like exponentially cheaper to get an impression on Facebook than it is to get a postcard into somebody's mailbox, just with the cost of printing and then the cost of delivery. I could get that ad in front of that same person 15 to 20 times. So then you don't have to worry as much about like rushing something out the door timing wise, like, oh, the weather's going to be beautiful this week, we need to get it out the door. You're running an ad to that neighborhood every day anyway. So just a valuable thing to think about with like consistency can replace some of the like luck of dropping a postcard at the right time.
Exactly. And like that was the stage 2 of really, as we started Augusta Lawn Care back in the day, was Facebook ads. And this is, now we're talking 7-8 years ago, 9 years ago, when it was the most ideal time. Like Facebook today is okay, but like back then, we could get way better cost per click. We could get way better conversion. Our targeting and our tracking was 10 times better. And so that was really the heyday in my mind for Facebook. And we really doubled down on it. And that's, I always say, like, we built that first location on the back of Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm. So where are you at physically with ads and also digitally? Where are your like key platforms now?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with how much you have in terms of budget, right? Like if I have a $5,000 budget versus a $20,000 budget, very different plan in terms of my mind. So if I'm doing a 5,000 or less budget, I'm very much focused on what are the 2 or 3 neighborhoods that I just want to penetrate out to wazoo, right? Because I'm going to try to hit them online. I'm going to try to hit them at their door. I'm going to try to hit them in their mailbox. I'm going to try to hit them knocking on their door. Like I got to hit them everywhere. Right. And I really like the approach of, instead of taking like, sending a postcard 20 times in someone's mailbox, like, oh, we got to get penetration. I'd rather be like, hey, I'm going to hit them in all these different areas. So eventually they start to see you everywhere. Like they see a yard sign, then they see a door hanger, and then you're knocking at their front door. Then they see you on Nextdoor, then they see you on Facebook, then they get an email. Like that, in my mind, that multi-layered, multifaceted approach is the best way to get a customer. So $5,000 or less, I'm like, hey, what's the 2 or 3 neighborhoods? Let's knock these people out of the park on Nextdoor. And when I say Nextdoor, we're talking about individual neighborhoods. Therefore, why not create an ad for that neighborhood? Why not get out in front of their HOA, their front, neighborhood banner, and take a picture of yourself and be like, I'm the number 1 provider in your community. And you only are hitting those people. Like it's a couple dollars a month. It's ridiculous. And so if you do that, then Facebook ads, you can target that area as well. That's somewhat restricted now, but it's still ability to be able to target that neighborhood. And then I'm doing the same thing with door hangers. And if I can't do door hangers because you can't solicit, okay, do every door direct mail. And for if you do that for 1,000 homes, you can easily penetrate in that market and get very good brand awareness through direct response marketing. Everyone was branding, and they look at companies like Apple and Verizon and Chevy making these ads that have nothing to do with actual direct sales. It's not like call now or buy now. It's like just showing their product. They're trying to create branding. They're trying to create an affiliation with their product so that when you think of trucks, you think of Ford. When you think of phones, you think of Apple. And so for us as lawn care and service providers in the home service industry, it's like, look, you're not going to be able to achieve branding at a mass scale without spending millions of dollars and getting a Super Bowl ad. Like you're not going to be able to do that. So why not focus on a very localized few neighborhoods where you can achieve branding through direct response marketing? And that is just through constant penetration and them seeing you over and over and over again. That's only possible though at a small budget if you are very localized. And so I think for most people, they're just trying to boil the ocean. They're trying to go after 500,000 people, and no one's going to even see you once or twice. Whereas if I go after 1,000 or 2,000, they'll see me 10, 15, 20 times, and I'll be top of mind. So when they think of lawn care, Augusta, right? That's a very hard delineation. And for most service businesses, people will think plumbing, lawn care, whatever it is, and then they Google. I got to go search because no one's actually achieved brand awareness in that segment of the market.
Well, and all you have to do to know that, like, you know, a business our size is never going to be able to pull that off is True Green can't pull that off, right? Like these multi-million to billion-dollar companies have not successfully like connected themselves to the concept of a lawn. So like our local business is not going to be able to swing that either. So yeah, absolutely. Like going deep with the right people and choosing a focus to like own these neighborhoods. It's also good for just the fundamentals of the business. It's going to increase your route density. You're not going to have 100 people all over. You're going to focus where your guys are going. So like in every way, it's better for a home service business to focus and go deep with the right people in multi-channel marketing as much as you can. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I think that this has been like a well of marketing information. I think you're one of the few people that can talk me under a table. So I love having you on here, and I'd love to have you back in the future, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Cody. Best of luck to you.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
Just go on YouTube, Mike Andes, or just mikeandes.com. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there.
Sweet. Yeah. And we'll have a link down to the channel in the description here so that people can go on over and subscribe if they don't know who you are already.
Thanks, Cody. I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, man.